We're going to jump to another Nick now, Nick Erner from Alkane Resources. Nick is a chemical engineer and he has more than 25 years experience in technical mine optimisation and management. Welcome to the stage, Nick.
Hey. Thanks. Thanks very much. And Tim's laid down the gauntlet of getting us back on schedule. And if there's one thing an engineer loves to do, particularly one that was trained as a chemical engineer, it's getting stuff on time and on schedule. So, you know, challenge accepted. Just rest easy out there. Anyone that's napped off can feel free to wake up. It won't be long. Here's my disclaimer. You can feel free to read that online. It's the same as everyone else's. Look, let me tell you about Alkane. We've been around, actually we were listed 40 years ago last Wednesday on the ASX and incorporated in 1969, started exploring for oil and gas in the Sydney Basin, and probably it's great to be able to present here at Diggers now with really a gold focus for Alkane, because we've done a power of work over the last 12 months to split the company in two, into Australian Strategic Materials, which I'll talk very briefly on, and the gold, and I'll tell you about the gold. So let's look at us. Right now, we have an existing gold mine, small, ramping back up to extend the life to it. That's at Tomingley in New South Wales. And we have a discovery at Boda, porphyry-like. We'd love to be able to talk it to the extent on SolGold, really early stages of that. That's quite exciting. We're very interested in that. That's in the Cadia district. We've also made some strategic investments. We heard Dave talk with Calidus this morning. Mike's had a booth here at Genesis. We put pretty serious investments for a company of our size into those two. And that forms the platform for Alkane as it now stands, and how we hope to take it forward for, I'd say, another 40 years, but it's a pretty dynamic environment. So if we look very briefly, I want to touch on the demerger, because you know, on behalf of all the shareholders that voted for this, 99.9%, so there was a few that weren't in favour, but we've been able to prove those wrong, because as of today, this closed at $3.60 over 400 million market cap. And so, you know, to everyone that said that had no value, I hope your shorts got washed out. So, thank you, I appreciated the chuckle. For those online, people here laughed, so so look, my directors in Melbourne will be watching, and they're stuck there maybe for a decade. So look, that demerger's complete, and I just really want to put that in perspective, right? You know, that's, as of today, that's sort of about 70 cents in Alkane terms. You know, we're about $1.40 at the moment. So it's been a fantastic result. It's a great result for shareholders. You know, Dave Woodall there, from the very illustrious Woodall family, he's already been in Korea. He's taken more quarantine than any other Australian resident going into Korea, and he's going back again this weekend. So we're really excited about the prospects of that. So, you know, really encourage you to check it out if you're interested in the strategic metals play when you get bored with gold. Corporate profile, here's us, got reasonable cash in the bank. We put 20 million of that into Australian Strategic Materials. You know, got a great liquid position. We've got some great photos of myself and the other board members. You know, Ian Gandal's our chairman. He's a 25% shareholder, so that management and stuff is predominantly Ian. Been a really supportive shareholder. And the great thing about having someone as optimistic as Ian there is I don't get lots of volatile changing directions. We've been able to really set quite a deliberate path for the company. So here we are. This is New South Wales. You know, I was in Kings Park the other day with my wife looking at wildflowers, and it said Eastern Australia flowers, and there was the line at the West Australian border, and everything to the right was Eastern Australia. So this is over there in Eastern Australia. And so, you know, this Tomingley in between Dubbo and Parkes, about 4.5 hours west of Sydney for those that don't know it. And we've got a gold mine there that we built. I'll tell you a bit about that. It's got a 1 million tonne per annum processing facility. We ran it open cut, did those out. We've got a small cutback going on at the moment. Ran about a 70,000 ounce run rate. Went down to 30,000 as we transitioned to underground, back at 50, and looking to take that through to 80,000 through the developments that I'm going to tell you about. So this is what we're most excited about. This is just to the south of Tomingley. So it's on the Newell Highway. You know, as here in the goldfields, you know, the highway joined up a lot of gold camps there. And so it's very inconveniently created, aligned along the mineralisation, but it makes exploration targeting pretty easy. You just follow the highway and drill holes and find more. So we once accidentally, you know, drilled some gold when we were, you know, looking for other things there, but, you know, that's the nature of the highway. But so if we look at that, we have the resource, and it's a bit frustrating. In Western Australia, as in Kalgoorlie, some of our sampling is held up because of the sheer volume of exploration occurring. So we really wanted to have that Roswell resource out right now. That will be late this month. And you can see it there, we've got 450,000 ounces. That's the resource at the top at Roswell. We've got quite a lot of deep drilling under that, so we're, you know, pretty optimistic about that resource modelling. And the reason we need that is to finalise the development plans just below that San Antonio. So we're looking to put open cuts and underground. I'll tell you a bit about those. These are the plans we've used for consultation. So we're going to put this out, feasibility study, I think probably February. You can see we're planning open cuts. We're looking to move the highway, go underground underneath it. And whilst I've got heaps better sections for that, the reason I showed that Roswell section on the right-hand side of the picture is that's actually, those intercepts are 100 metres below our existing inferred model. And so, you know, we've got quite substantial widths and grades there for a mine of our size there. So this pathway, you know, Jim Beyer mentioned it with the McPhillamys approval. The New South Wales environment is getting more roadblock removal-ish, which is good. So particularly for ourselves, you know, you can see the boundary there of that highlighted green around the edges. That's our owned land. We own that land. And so one of the big issues in New South Wales is landholder density and therefore land access. But we own that land. We bought that successfully off the surrounding farming. 7 different farms we consolidated there. And so that clears one thing. We've already got an existing processing plant with water supply, so that clears other roadblocks. So, you know, we expect to have our EIS in before the end of the year, approval sort of mid next year, because it's an expansion project as distinct from a whole new greenfields environment. So for us, we want to return to an 80,000 ounce run rate for a decade. And so our action plan is just getting that done, putting in the things, doing the plans, getting the resource model, working out what's the transition between open cut and underground, and then making that decision and executing it. More interestingly, I think, for people is our Boda prospect. Again, frustratingly, I really expected to have our first phase of infill drilling results on this by the end of September, but we were still waiting on our last core holes, the deep diamond holes. We've done, if you see those holes there, the original holes, you know, COVID has really been quite interesting for us. That hole 7 there, you know, nearly 1 kilometre of mineralisation with sort of, we did a 500 metre intercept at 1 gram gold and, you know, 0.5% copper. I put that out in March. In March we put that out as the market fell 14%. So it's happily getting a bit more recognition at the moment. But we've been infilling in between those. We've got diamond holes between those, diamond hole underneath and a row of RC over the top as our first phase of drilling. We're doing 30,000 metres at the moment. I expect that, if not next week, the week after for those results. So it's frustrating. It's clearly a large system. This is our first pass modelling of it. This is just to help targeting. We don't really know their size and orientation. We know we've got a lot more drilling to go into that. Like I said, we're doing a 30,000 metre program. We're allocating, you know, 10, 12 million bucks on that this financial year, just on the Boda prospect alone, and we see that ramping up even further going forward. We've had 1 RC, 1 diamond rig on it, and we're taking, as the diamond rig finishes about now at San Antonio, we're moving that across onto Boda at the moment. So we'll have 1 RC and 2 diamond rigs there cranking across the summer, which fits in with the farming really well. So we're pretty pumped about that, and really looking forward to presenting those results and together with Roswell. So, you know, someone asked me, you know, why is it that you guys discover stuff in ground that's been held by Newmont, Newcrest, Goldfields? We got the ground off CRA in '97, and I think all of us who have been around a while probably already know the answer to this. It's persistence and stability. You know, Ian Chalmers, previous managing director before me, our technical director, you know, Ian picked up this ground in '97, added to it, changed, dropped bits, and has been working it in all those different areas since then, increasing the knowledge, understanding. And all of us have seen enough of other investment cycles to see other teams come and go in the majors in those spaces. I think it's, a credit to him, and so it's a pleasure to be making these discoveries. A question I get asked all the time is about our strategic gold investments. Look, we look forward to seeing these guys come into production. I think Dave will have his financing package together, as he talked about, later this year, and come into production next year. And Mike with Genesis drilling out the ground in the acquisition he bought recently, already at 1.2 plus million tonnes per annum, looking to first validate and then grow that. So, we're really interested in those companies. We're interested in supporting them. We think that, as you can see from all the transactions that occur, that being a multi-mine producer makes a lot of sense. And we hope that we can support those guys into production and maybe bring assets together one day. But there's a hell of a lot of water to go under the bridge, and for anything like that to be able to occur. So, they're definitely in the black. As one fund manager said to me, he said, "Oh, mate, back when we first made these investments," he said, "Look, I don't want you to be a portfolio manager. I'll make those decisions." Happily had the good grace when I last saw him to say I was a better portfolio manager than he was. So, but that's pure chance. That's not why we did it. We did it because of the opportunity to be a multi-mine producer one day. So what are our priorities? They're just getting it done. We're just drilling holes at Boda, adding to understanding, moving up and down, adding to targets along the strike and reporting those. We're upgrading our Roswell and San Antonio resources to indicators so that we can wrap serious mine plans around them. That doesn't change the approvals process, it does change the economic decision making around open cut versus underground. And we're continuing to do the developments underground at Tomingley. We're going across to the other underground as well, and then travelling underground down between the existing mine and down south. So a fair bit going on. I know I've kept it brief. We can maybe even take a question in the interest of time, and really look forward to talking more. When we put out our porphyry results, Ian and I'll be looking to hold a series of online, I'll call it a webinar, but I don't really know if that's the technical term, so that people can ask us more questions about it. Because as Nick showed, there's a hell of a lot of explanation that needs to go on for people to understand a porphyry and what we're interpreting and where we're going with that. So thanks everybody, and thanks to those online. Stay safe.
Thanks, Nick. Amazingly, we're actually back ahead of schedule, so you can take a question. And there's one.
Yep.
There's one that we've got. It sort of centres around Boda, the scale of it. Do you have a feel for where it could be ultimately, and a timeline where it might be on production?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. So let's look at what's pretty obvious about it. If you look at Cadia, it's over a 5K strike, multiple intrusives. It feels like that sort of system. The experts tell us that that's what we should be looking for. We have that degree of strike and mineralisation and the IP anomalies, the magnetic targets to show that. So we would hope that we could grow it to something like that. But first, we're treating this in three parts. We want to know what's that. We've drilled a lot of high grade. How does it join together? What's the structure of it, right? There's a lot of drilling density that needs to go into that. Is it large, this particular prospect? Already, yes, we can tell that as to how large this particular prospect is. I think we'll be able to show that in this round of drilling, this one prospect. And repeat prospects, we're going to know the better of those targets over the coming year. So if we then put our rapid development hat on, 2-3 years to drill out a starter project and put together a feasibility study, and then to carry that through the New South Wales approvals process, 5 years from there would be lightning. And it would need a shift in the dynamic of the way the approvals process works there, which is rather than having departments give contrasting views on the same problem and then leaving it for you as the proponent to resolve their differences, it would need the Department of Planning to resolve those differences and help carry you forward. And they're shifting in that direction. I think it's very encouraging. But we need to understand, not only is there landholder density in New South Wales, a lot of the regulation is driven by coal mining in the battlefield that Liverpool Plains has become, and some of that's spilled over in the metals sector. So, yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. And thanks again for the slight compression of your presentation. We'll move on to the next.
You're most welcome. Thanks, everyone.